The numbers. The numbers are falling. Therefore, it may be time to loosen up a bit. The concern is next week, which is vacation week, when everybody falls out, travels, visits people, and goes places. And I am pretty sure, and not pleased, but pretty sure somebody will catch something during that and come back with it. So my inclination is that it's time to loosen up a bit, maybe the week after vacation. Because at that point, people will have come back from it. If they did catch it while they were on vacation someplace, back, we know about it, and they will have gotten past the point of being able to spread it. It only takes
tight rope that we're all walking. Wearing a mask isn't fun for anybody, and I'm sure we're all very tired of it. Just whenever we're in some place, probably not being able to wait until you get out, you can just rip it off. I'd like to see the masks come off or lightened up for 2 weeks after vacation. I'd like to see that.
So I want to kind of add to that, to when we're looking at case rates, maybe add wastewater metrics. I'm not sure exactly how we would do that, whether I wonder if there's kind of an appetite on the board to discuss incorporating testing into our metrics. For example, if we want to raise that percentage of people participating in the program as a kind of an incentive to discuss dropping the mask mandate.
So I agree about case counts. They're coming down. I've been tracking them. They're coming down, and it's exciting. Our vaccination rates in our town are excellent. That's another really important piece. And that's a really important piece in our sort of layered strategy. I, similar to Chuck and Hope, am concerned about the date of the February vacation, and so would like to see a buffer there. Part of it is about protecting your neighbor, protecting your loved ones, or people who either are not yet able to get the vaccine, who are under 5, or who are more immunocompromised. And so wherever if we do move forward with lifting it, I would like to also put in place some metrics for when we might have to bring it back, because
can we start with the wastewater? And Leandra, I don't have a sense of what sort of values we can use. What are your thoughts? Should we go with the trends, or I think there's a 7-day average that is graphed?
Make a decision as to when or how we're going to make a decision. If we don't make a decision, that's okay. We're not required to make a decision tonight, but we need to decide at least how and when we're going to decide about the schools, because people justifiably are expecting us to comment at least on this 228 lifting of the statewide mandate. But the mask mandate in the school wasn't based on any, it was based on our analysis of the metrics, but there was no trigger for high, medium, low, significant. Not it was just there's going to be masks in the schools, full stop. So we can.
Were you referring that you wanted the sewage to be part of the metric, the numbers that we would look at as to if the mask mandate was lifted, and if it needed to be reinstated, or where it should be at for the schools? I think that's what you meant. And unfortunately, with Sharon everybody having a private septic system, we can't use our town specifically. So we have to look at a comparable neighboring town that has like-minded individuals to try to determine where we're at. So I think that's a good point, though, to what do we, what numbers do we want to look at, even to think about voting for lifting or reinstating wherever we're at with the schools.
There's a potential, as far out as it may be, um, for doing some wastewater numbers in Sharon, particularly for the schools, because there is a wastewater treatment plant on the high school grounds that treats both the high school and the middle school. Now it is, maybe, and again, far out, and I have no data or have not spoken to anybody about it, a potential to produce numbers, wastewater school numbers that might be useful. But can we? Don't know.
Paragraph where I say I'm genuinely torn between the desire to continue to protect the vulnerable members of our community and the competing interest to address the socio-emotional and educational needs of the students. That's kind of where we are. I think that this is less of a conversation about data, and this is more of a conversation about values. And these are the values that we use in interpreting the data. I do think, but if there's a significant number of people that are going to be affected by not wearing masks, they're going to get sick or they're going to get their family member sick, then we should keep it. But if it's like a really, really small percent of the population, and or if that small percentage of the population that's vulnerable is really people that choose not to be vaccinated, then it really puts us in a position where we can kind of say, well, we're putting a burden on a lot of people for not a lot of benefit. We mentioned earlier this evening, once we get rid of the mask mandate, it'll be almost impossible to reinstate it again if it deemed necessary. This is something that's being considered by all levels, epidemiologists, policymakers, and I think that it's going to be really important for us to understand that from a social science standpoint, it's going to be really hard to go back to masks if we get rid of them. But as a matter of public policy and a matter of responsibility to the town, if we do decide to do that, it is within our purview, and it's within our scope of responsibility. It makes no sense to lift the mandate. The schools are coming back from February break. I think that makes perfect sense. And I think that if we do get rid of the mask mandate, we're going to do that at least 1 week, if not 2 weeks. I don't think that we're like we collectively are going to make this decision the same way. And I think that that's okay.
Yeah.
So I think regardless of how you want to make the decision, Hope, Signy's going to make it her way, Jeannie's going to make it her way, Chuck's going to make it his way, I'm going to make it my way, and that's totally okay.
Really defining the variables, the values that may be needed to bring it back. I mean, I think it, like you touched on, Mina, I want to make sure that we have a way, we have a back on ramp if we need it.
Conceptually, it seems like everybody is about ready and is in the place of saying that we can loosen up a couple of weeks after vacation. If they expect us to tie that to some metric, so that they say, well, 2 weeks after vacation, if so-and-so is at, if the positivity level is at such and such, then the masks stay. I don't think we're nearly ready to do that. And I wouldn't want to vote on that because I don't know what metrics we would want to attach it to.
I don't think we need to write it in as a policy, what the metrics are going to be, partly because we don't know what those metrics are right now. And secondly, like it would be an added layer of complexity that we don't need. for us to all have to agree on what those metrics are, right? So we can just have a discussion that week, and by all means, Jeannie and Signe and anyone else that, you know, wants to base that vote on metrics, by all means, like research, you know, share those ideas at the time of that meeting, say, these are the metrics that I think are most important. You'll have a whole month between now and then to finalize your opinion on those metrics. Me personally, like I couldn't tell you that I'm going to get nailed down on one number where if it's like 87%, I'm going to say no. And if it's 88%, I'm going to say yes. I don't see that
measures to consider versus thresholds that are cut points. I agree. These thresholds are arbitrary and we're doing the best we can, but I think we've talked about a number of the things that matter. And so I agree. I don't think we're going to have a very good threshold unless some smarter group than us, you know, says something very convincing. But so I guess I don't want to get in the weeds of the point estimate. I don't think that.
At this point, with the state lifting its mandate and the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics having an opposing view, right? We're in an impossible position where if there's an appeal to authority, there's always going to be an appeal of authority that is going to, again, go against our decision, right? It's going to be, how dare you go against the state, or how dare you go against the CDC?
Yeah, I think it's too early.
Okay. When is going to be the right time, Chuck?
When we have to.
Why do we need to do anything before the 28th?
Public demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's right. Is that right?
Yeah.
Judge?
Yeah. Public demand.
Yeah, I mean, like.
Well, and for the schools too, for implementation purposes, I guess.
Right. And we can't just turn around on a dime and say, okay, no masks as of tomorrow, or hey, guess what? You know, we decided we're never getting rid of the masks. Either one of those is something that we have the authority to do, but if we don't have any new information, or if that information is a constantly moving target, right, where there's, you know, there's nothing magical about the week of March 7th, right? The only reason it's the week of March 7th is because it's a week after the 28th. There's nothing magical about February 28th. It just happens to be the state mandate lifting on the 28th. That's the only reason that becomes the magic date, not because of us, but because of the state.
Where there's a part of me that thinks that the state did it on February 28th intentionally because they won't have to see the ride of the February vacation, and because it might be trending the opposite direction. I obviously have no idea if that's true.
It's not going to mutate into Ebola, and it's not going to become a cold. Like It's going to be within the same realm, right? It's going to be like it's not going to be categorically different.
Right.
If it's categorically different, then yes, of course, we will revisit that question.
Okay.
But we know enough right now to have a sense of what, as long as things don't dramatically change, what we plan to do.
Okay. You help me? Because I can't read my writing now because I'm trying to keep up. Right.
I mean, it sounds like we're saying the mask mandate in the Sharon Public Schools will be lifted effective March 14th, pending final review by the Board of Health.
Right.
The week of March 7th. That's exactly right.
Thank you.
So, Leander, did you get that? So, can you read it back to me, Leander, please?
That the mask mandate for the schools will be lifted March 14th, pending a review by the Board of Health on March 7th, the week of March 7th.
Okay. Do we have a second? So it's Chuck's motion.
Okay.
I second.
And we're voting Chuck,
Yay.
Hope,
Yes.
Signe,
Yes.
Jeannie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Let's join the school committee.
My only concern with that again is the timing with vacation, and even though it's a business and it's different municipal buildings and everything where people are going in, I'm just concerned about numbers that potentially might go up after vacations for people that are out and about. And I just don't know about February 28th as being the date to lift it. I just feel like I need a little bit more time perhaps after that. And I will propose that according to the Board of Health of Sharon, that the mask mandate will be lifted on March 7th, pending evaluation of cases of cases in the town. You want to?
So for the
Fix it?
sake of clarity, can we just, Leandra, can you read us back the previous motion that was voted on, and we could just change school to town,
Mhm.
and then
Okay.
read that back to us and see if that,
Yep, so the
Great.
school mask recommendations are going to be lifted 3/14, pending a meeting to reevaluate the metrics the week of March 7th.
is that
This is-
acceptable, Hope?
Yes, thank you.
Can I